I unfortunately couldn't make it last night. It was way too late. There's a lot of episodes, damn. If you hear a little crinkling, it's my birds eating, my birds playing. Hopefully they don't make too much noise, but we'll see. This lady and this guy are being chased by the police, and they decide to hide out in the farmhouse in the backyard. They listen to the radio about the story, and we find out that her name is Maria Ladrones, which is Spanish for robbers. They stake out the farmhouse and devise a little plan. Later, she rings the doorbell and tells them that their car broke down and that they've been hanging out in their backyard. And she is with her husband, Mano, which is Spanish for hand, and they see the silhouette from the van, but then Courage, who keeps looking, watches as the man part of the silhouette just falls and the hand keeps waving.
You dumb dog.
Courage is sent out to check the TV antenna, and when Courage goes out there, he finds the antenna cut with a pair of shears. Maria tells him that they have great reception in their Winnebago, so Eustace takes his TV out there. And Maria also says that mi casa is su casa, which means what's mine is yours, and what's yours is all mine.
All mine. How lovely.
Maria and Muriel sit and have some tea, and Maria keeps asking her where all of her valuables are. And apparently it's just in the safe behind the couch. She literally gives her the combo to the safe.
94.
87.
6. 144.
11.
19.
Courage has to snatch up the documents and throw it back in and lock it.
Now, Courage, you can trust Maria.
Maria then asks her what her beauty secrets are, and Muriel takes her upstairs to turn her into Muriel. That night, Eustace fell asleep watching TV in the van, and then it's revealed that Mano is just a hand. And he sneaks into the bedroom and steals Muriel's glasses. Courage watches this and tries to warn Muriel. And Muriel says this.
You know I can't hear you without my glasses, Courage.
Courage tries to catch up to them, but they already made off in their van. But Courage is excited because they're gone. He's sitting there listening to the radio until there is a breaking news report that the grandmother diamond was stolen. And the criminal was nice enough to leave her driver's license and her birth certificate.
The precious stone was taken from the Nowhere Museum by Muriel's bag.
The cop comes to arrest Muriel and says that her glasses were also left at the scene of the crime. He takes her outside to read her rights, and while he's doing that, Muriel literally drives by and he's like, "See, that's you with the diamond."
There you are with the diamond.
Courage steals the bike and goes after the van, ends up on top of it, and then Muriel, seeing this, says,
They can take my old photos. They can take my identity. But when they take my courage, they've gone too far.
So she crashes through the van and causes it to crash. Courage finds Muriel and gives her back her glasses, and they reunite, and it's super cute. Meanwhile, the cop catches up and arrests Maria and Mano. At home, they get all their stuff back, but Eustace is upset because those neighbors gave him the best reception of his life.
When are they coming back?
Oh my god, look at the new end screen, it's so cute. The Courage is outside chewing in a boot when Dai Lung comes over and tries to play fetch with him. When he says no, he shoots him out of a cannon.
As dog, you know good.
When he comes back around, he says that's because he didn't have the stick, that he is a bad dog and that he can make a better dog. And it's so annoying because Courage literally had the stick. At the farmhouse, there's a leak, and Eustace says that he needs the boot that Courage is chewing on. Dylon comes back with a dog and orders him to chew the boot and completely destroys it. He tells it to be a better dog than Courage, so he goes inside to be Eustace and Muriel's dog. When Eustace asks it where the boot is, he just makes him a new one, not before making sure that we see Eustace's feet. Then he goes to the basement and cleans out the flood. And Dylon's outside keeping score on a chalkboard.
My dog, better dog. Watch where you're going, you fool.
Mecha Courage is doing everything for them.
At the table, Courage.
Mm-hmm.
Bow, wow.
And this includes going into Muriel's lap for a cuddle. Courage sees this and starts crying. It's really sad. Dylon comes back and taunts him, and Courage has had enough. When Dylon tells him that Mecha Courage could beat Courage even in the Coliseum in Rome, Courage takes him up on the challenge, hacks a suitcase, and then they're at the Coliseum. At the Coliseum, to be honest, Courage gets really messed up. It's a tough watch.
The things I do for
But he refuses to give up, and then Mecha Courage starts smoking, and it turns out that Courage ran out its battery, so Mecha Courage falls apart. And since Dylon lost, the Emperor traps him in the Coliseum. At home, there's a commercial about a robot dog, and Muriel says that no robot can replace Courage, which is rich coming from her, considering she cuddled up with the robot just before.
No machine could ever replace my courage.
you fool.
We are camping. I love when we go outside of the farmhouse and explore the world. Eustace is watching TV, and Dylon is on there trying to make people buy his course.
All you have to do to learn the secret of my success is send me money.
And Courage is trying to build his tent.
Oh my! Have a cupcake, Courage.
Eustace is still watching TV, and all of a sudden a dollar appears in his lap. He tries to grab it, but it keeps flying away. So he keeps chasing this dollar on a string, and it leads him away into the forest. In the tent, Muriel is telling him some scary stories, and the next one is about a haunted tent, so Courage freaks out.
Until he let out a horrible scream. Oh my!
Muriel hears Eustace screaming, so they go outside and they don't see him, so Muriel thinks maybe he just went on a walk. But then they see these glowing eyes staring at them, and when they pop out, they're raccoons,
Have you seen my Eustace?
but killer raccoons. They beat up Courage and chain him to a tree, and then take all of their stuff, including the car, and drive away with Muriel. And Courage imagines this. But it gives him the strength to deroot the tree and go after her. He actually hears Eustace and goes to him and finds him on this cliff. He tries to get over to him, but just falls, so the tree just makes a little bridge for him. Eustace unchains him in the most dramatic way possible. But they're both free. They see wanted posters for the raccoons, and Courage tells Eustace what they did.
Big deal.
Eustace is fine with the first two, but then he finds out that they took his chair and his TV. So he's going hunting. Him and Courage start walking, and Courage sniffs the tire marks, and Eustace tells him to stop sniffing and just follow them.
Quit your sniffing and just follow them tire tracks, you stupid dog.
They lead to this cave where Muriel and the raccoons are just sitting there eating popcorn and watching a movie. Muriel makes Courage join them, and the raccoons get very jealous of this.
everyone.
Eustace sneaks up on them and captures them both because he wants the reward. As he's leaving with them, he sees another dollar on the floor and then a voice telling them to let the children go. And then this giant raccoon comes out of nowhere and scares Eustace. But then it falls over and we see that it was just Courage with the little bullhorn. Eustace goes to find a bigger net for that big guy, and then the children find him and beat his ass. Muriel and Courage go home and wonder when Eustace is getting back, and then we see him still in the forest playing mother to these raccoons.
I hate nature.
We're with Shirley again, and she's doing some spring cleaning. We see Eustace also driving down the road, listening to some tunes. Shirley tosses out this old Velvet Vic record, and it hits Eustace as he's driving, which makes him crash the truck into this pole.
Whoa. What do you know?
He brings it home and plays it, and Courage hates it.
Gotta find just the right spot.
But then he sees a ghost coming out of the record player, and it's the ghost of Velvet Vic. He tries to warn Eustace, but then gets kicked out because of this, and then watches from the window as the ghost comes out again. This time it makes its way to the piano and starts playing some tunes, and Eustace is perfectly fine with this. When the record is finished, the ghost just goes back into the record player, so then Eustace plays it again. He comes out again, starts playing the piano, and invites Muriel to come play with him. As she's playing, he's dancing with Eustace, and he twirls him through the basement door down into the basement. This time when the record stops, Muriel is the one who goes back into the record player as a ghost. Velvet Vic takes the record and smashes it. Vic tells Eustace that he has to go, hit the road, and Eustace offers to be his tour manager, so they leave together. Meanwhile, Courage tries to tape back the record player, but Muriel comes out all jagged and not right. So he takes it to the doctor, who has the record duplicated, but then when Muriel comes out, she has two heads. So Courage takes the original and leaves. Velvet Vic is having a live performance. Shirley's there to sell her junk that she threw out spring cleaning. And she sees this Velvet Vic poster and she doesn't believe her eyes because she knows he's dead. She watches through a telescope and sees Eustace manning the booth, the ticket booth, for some money. And she sees Courage go up to him and try to tell him something with the record. Eustace flings him all the way to where she's at. And Courage does this to show her what's going on. She tells him that he needs to play it while Velvet Vic is performing the song in order for him to go back. But then Courage shows her the broken record, and she says no magic can fix this, so just go digital. He takes the record to his computer, and the computer burns a CD for him. He goes back to the concert while Velvet Vic is performing live and plays a CD. This makes Muriel come out. She goes to the piano and starts playing with him. He tells her that she's messing up his performance, so kicks her off. He starts playing it, and then Courage stops the CD, causing Velvet Vic to go back into it. Shirley takes the CD back along with Eustace's earnings as a licensing fee. That night at home, Eustace is going through all of his records, hoping that one of them also has a ghost in it so he can make some money.
Who the heck are you?
Courage is outside chewing a bone, and he sees this girl run up to him, but she has a cloud following her. She tries to play fetch with him, but he is really freaked out about this cloud. Muriel invites her in for some tea, and inside she tells him that she's a storm goddess and that she lost her dog, Duncan. She shows him a picture and says that Courage looks a lot like Duncan.
Your dog reminds me of Duncan. Isn't the resemblance uncanny?
And then she asks if it's okay if she takes Courage out for some air. And before Muriel can even say, yeah, I do mind actually, she already is gone. Thankfully though, she brings him back for dinner. But Muriel isn't happy to see her. She can sense that she's trying to take her dog and she is waiting for her to just leave.
Sitting at the table.
After all, when supper's over, your friend will be leaving and you'll never see her again.
And then the storm goddess just tells her she's actually going to be taking Courage. No. So this causes them to start fighting, and they go back and forth until the house is destroyed. Courage goes on a world tour to try to find Duncan, and eventually ends up at the burger place that we saw in the previous season.
I seen that dog. Huh? Where? Take it easy, take it easy. He went down that sewer.
Ew. So Courage goes inside, obviously splashes into the sewer water, finds a boat, and then starts rowing. He eventually finds this giant dog bone and a voice telling him not to lick it unless he never wants to stop licking it ever again.
And never cease from licking. It's just that good.
And he even steps over some dog bones, but he hears something and it turns out that it's Duncan down there who's been licking the bone this whole time. He tries to stop Duncan, but then he can't resist licking, so he gets stuck for a little bit, but he tickles his tongue and then ties it up and shoves back in his mouth. He drags Duncan with the bone, and then the dog skellies come to life and try to fight Courage. Courage destroys all of them. And makes his way with Duncan and the bone all the way back to the farmhouse. He shows the storm goddess her dog, and she's excited for a second and stops fighting with Muriel, but then Duncan is not interested in her. He's very focused on this bone. So she says she still has to take Courage. Courage uses this to his advantage and then plays into being her little dog, and this makes Duncan very, very jealous. So then he goes back to the storm goddess and everything's back to normal, and Courage gets to keep the giant bone. It's bedtime and Muriel is snoring it up. Courage cannot sleep. It pans to a forest that's surprisingly really close to the farm, and we see a giant castle. Inside is this guy counting sheep, and he counted up until 632,499, and this is the breaking point. He doesn't want to keep counting sheep because he can't sleep. This is the Sandman, king of sleep, but he can't sleep. He listens out into the distance and hears some snoring and is like, ooh, that's some good sleep. So he follows the snoring, and guess who it is? Muriel. Courage watches as the Sandman sneaks into their bedroom and steals Muriel's sleep sand. This makes him sleepy, so he goes back to his castle to finally have some rest. Muriel wakes up and can't sleep anymore. Courage tries to warn her, but she thinks that she just needs a cup of tea. And then the morning comes and she still hasn't slept. At the Sandman's castle, he is knocked. Muriel tries to sleep again that night, but still can't. And days go by where this woman cannot sleep. Courage tries to help too. He plays some soothing music.
You're keeping me awake.
He reads her War and Peace. She says that when she was little and couldn't sleep, her dad would take her for a drive. So Courage does this and then hears her snoring, so he thinks that this worked. But then when he goes to the back, he sees Muriel still awake, so he decides to follow the snoring. It leads him right to the Sandman's castle. Courage catapults himself into his castle. And tries to somehow steal Muriel's sand back, but this wakes him up.
Looking for something?
Courage tries to show him that Muriel can't sleep, but the Sandman doesn't care. He wants to go back to bed, but Courage stops him. He spreads out on his bed so he can get back in. So when the Sandman tries to get him, he hides under there and pulls out this teddy bear. This is the Sandman's old teddy, and he realizes that this is why he couldn't sleep. So now that he figured it out, he gives Courage Muriel's sand back. Courage drives her home, puts her in bed, and just flings that in her face, and she falls asleep. Eustace is sick again. Courage is trying to help Muriel make him feel better.
Courage, pass me my special remedy.
But Eustace refuses to eat her gelatin. She says she tried everything except for artichoke soup. Eustace says anything besides these leeches.
Leeches!
Disgusting. Muriel finds the artichoke soup in her cookbook, but the recipe page is torn out. So then Courage takes her upstairs to the computer to find one online. Muriel presses a button and some spicy content pops out.
What does this one do? Oh my!
And this embarrasses Courage, so Muriel just leaves. He finds a recipe, but the computer tells him it's going to take 43 hours to download, so Courage just lets it be. He goes downstairs to eat some cookies. While this is happening, the computer gets fried. Muriel goes to check in on Courage thinking he's still in the attic. The computer says to push this one button, and when she does, she gets sucked into the computer. Courage sees this and freaks out. The computer tells him to scan himself in, and he does, and we are in the computer. And we get a 3D Courage. Courage follows Muriel's screams through this wet door, and when he goes in, he becomes Code Courage. And he also finds Muriel, and she's been chained up, and this disgusting thing is there. This is the virus, and it looks like Mustafa the space worm from that one space episode. The virus sends his little bugs to go after Courage, and also the hardware. But Courage turns into soda and sprays him. The virus tells him that Muriel is not leaving until he gets better, and that he even tried the artichoke soup. So Courage suggests the jello that Eustace didn't want to eat. They call the phone, and through the phone, Courage pops out and steals the jello. And the leeches are still there, and they're talking to us. Ugh.
Is it for rats?
Tell them we're busy.
The virus eats the jello and feels so much better, so Muriel and Courage are let go. Muriel is able to make the soup, she gives it to Eustace, and everyone feels better.
Even twits can have good ideas
They're at a Norwegian holiday, and Courage and Muriel are bird watching, and they're wearing these helmets. This one bird takes its lunch in front of them, and they're watching it. And then Eustace comes out saying that the TV isn't in English, so he throws a helmet and it hits the bird.
This place stinks! And this hat stinks too!
The bird lays an egg on Eustace's head, and it hatches, and the three little birds start pecking his head. And then he falls off a cliff. As the bird is flying away, these 3 women pass by him saying that they can't find their sister. And then we get a cut to the goose god from season 1. And he is in the clouds, still with the truck. His wife, the truck. They're still together.
Ladies, Chucky and I are trying to sleep.
So these sisters, they speak in song and they say that they think that they spotted their missing sister. They appear on the cliff that Muriel is at and they think that Muriel is their sister, so they take her. Not without beating the Courage for no reason, obviously. Courage hitches a ride on one of the horses and they go to their palace. At the palace, we find out that the sister, Brumilda, left during battle and they need to get to bed to rest because they have to fight the brother trolls. Courage tries to get Muriel to get out of there during bedtime, but Muriel thinks this is just part of the vacation and everything is just pretend. So she grabs what she thinks is a play weapon and destroys the room. This wakes up the other sisters who spot Courage and say that he is a spy that the troll sent, and they throw him out the window. He lands in troll territory and they think that he's a spy for the Valkyrie, so they tie him up to cook him. Before they can eat him though, the Valkyrie sisters invade and they start battling. Courage tries to run away with Muriel and he goes into the caves. The sisters think that he's just stealing their sister, so they follow him, and then the trolls who are trying to attack the sisters follow them. Courage traverses through the caves and ends up finding a room with the missing sister and one of the brother trolls, professing their love for one another.
I love the Troll King.
I love the Valkyrie.
Courage decides to make this official and officiates their wedding.
I do.
The sisters and the brothers all come in as the wedding is happening, and this finally ends the war between them. They invite Courage and Muriel to their wedding feast. And then we see Eustace being cooked up by the bird that he threw the helmet at.
Stupid bird.
So this is fun because the titles obviously play on Scooby-Dooby-Doo. And I did do a recap on the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You seasons, if you want to check that out. So they're on vacation again, but this time they're all scuba diving. Courage and Muriel are looking at coral while Eustace is looking for treasure. They find an anemone, and also behind some of the coral they find these little people. At dinner, Eustace doesn't believe that Muriel saw these little people, but Muriel insists that he should just come with them so he can see for himself. That night, Eustace can't sleep, so he calls his mom. He tells her that Muriel is crazy because she thinks that she saw these little people. She hangs up immediately and goes to tell her boss from Growth Industries, do you remember that? That they found the coral.
That coral makes the best wigs.
The next day, Eustace is using a metal detector to find some treasure, and Courage and Muriel are taking a pie to the little people. They are greeted by the mayor of Coralville.
Welcome to Coralville, large strangers. We are the Coralites.
They devour the pie that they brought him and then take him on a little coral history tour. Ezra Jedediah Coral was the first among them, and he began building this reef from a single piece of coral, and they work hard on maintaining this coral. This took them 1,000 years to build, and without this coral they would cease to exist. So Courage and Muriel offer to help them.
There's no time to rest on laurels when we must repair the coral, share the shells and pass the plaster.
Eustace's mom shows up in a submarine and starts chomping away at the coral.
We're under attack!
Muriel sends Courage to go tell Eustace that his mom is going crazy, and his mom literally shoots a torpedo at him. He rides the torpedo all the way to the surface and it blows up on Eustace, who's at the beach, and he just found a war submarine with his metal detector. So Courage takes his submarine and rides back into the water to battle it out with Ma. They start throwing ammo at each other and Courage tricks her into shooting herself. So she's just left with a scuba mask and a torpedo gun, which she shoots at Courage, destroying his submarine. When it blows up, Courage gets shot out towards Ma and bumps into her, bumping off her wig. Because remember, she's bald. She screams and loses her oxygen tank, which Courage snatches up, and she's deciding on whether or not to go save her wig, but she can't breathe, so she has to go to the surface so she doesn't drown. And then she gets swept up by a giant tidal wave.
Watch where you're going, you fool!
Thank you. The Courage saves the Coralites and he gets a portrait in his honor. Back at home, Muriel bakes him a pie for saving them. One of the little Coralites snuck back with them and eats his entire pie.
Excuse me.
Courage is making balloon animals, which Eustace steps on and pops.
Beautiful work, Courage.
Eustace complains about his back and Courage goes outside. He sees what he thinks is snow falling from the sky. Courage goes outside in his little outfit to go play in it, but then he realizes that it's not snow, it's papers, and on the papers it says, "Live longer, live better." In the sky, it's this guy flying this nasty plane, writing messages with black smoke in the sky, and he crashes into the windmill and damn near dies. Courage gets him out of the wreck and takes him inside. Muriel is tending to him, but she can't understand what he needs and she thinks that he is saying that he wants sludge. So she makes Courage go throughout the entire house, gathering up as much sludge as he can.
What's huh?
It's so nasty. And then she gives it to him and he drinks it all up. He tells him his name is Conway and he feels much better, but not 100% there yet. So he makes Muriel blow out all of the dust that she just vacuumed so he can breathe better. He's the only one that feels good because everyone else is dying. He tells him that he's 193 years old. And then he sells him the idea of living like him if they want to live a long, happy life. And they agree. They start breathing in the dust. Conway even draws up Muriel a sludge bath.
Well, you want a bit more pep in my step?
It's good for what's ailing you, my dear.
It's so nasty. Courage goes in there trying to clean it up, but they don't let him. After some time, the house is absolutely disgusting. And Muriel and Eustace are not doing well. They're starting to look like Conway.
Muriel!
Yes?
I forgot.
He keeps saying that this is good for their health. The health department literally condemns the place because it's yucky in there. Courage tries to vacuum the house, but Conway tells him that he's gonna need a much bigger vacuum. So he says, bet. Courage finds a doggy door in the attic, installs it, and then leaves through it. He goes to the plane that Conway crash landed and rebuilds it into a giant vacuum. Then he uses one of his little balloon animal balloons as the vacuum bag. He ties himself up to the entrance and just turns it on and it starts sucking in all of the garbage. It almost sucks in Muriel and Eustace, but Courage is tied up and catches them with the net. And he makes sure to move the net real quick when Conway comes so that he doesn't catch him. And he goes straight into the sack of garbage. Muriel and Eustace go outside to breathe in some fresh air and immediately go back to normal. And then Courage ties up the balloon vacuum bag with Conway inside of it. And Conway doesn't have a problem with this. He likes it in there, so he lets it go and he floats away.
Well, I hope Conway can go somewhere where he can live the way he wants. like a pig. Live long like Conway.
Courage is the only one that's gross and nasty, so Muriel says that they have to clean him up, but Eustace tells her to use the hose outside.
I don't want that stupid, filthy dog in my house.
Eustace is being the absolute worst to Muriel, as always, and she hears an ad on the radio about a getaway on the first nuclear-powered submarine, but you have to work on it. Muriel packs her bags and she goes with Courage.
Lock my hat! Socks! Eggs! Flapjacks! Coffee!
At the deck, Muriel and Courage are waiting in line with a bunch of other people who also showed up, and the guy behind them has this puppet, and the puppet starts speaking to Courage, telling him that he doesn't want to go in there because he's really claustrophobic.
Not in the case, man.
When Courage tries to warn Muriel, the captain comes out, and it's none other than Katz.
Welcome aboard the nuclear vacation class submarine. I'm Katz. Captain Katz.
He makes Muriel his first mate and kicks out Courage because no dogs allowed. Courage sneaks back in and lets the puppet out of the suitcase and then replaces him.
Oh, thanks. I'm grateful.
This guy becomes the entertainment, so Courage has to pretend to be a puppet.
No, I am thirsty for a big drink.
Backstage, the guy needs to go to the bathroom and leaves Courage there. Katz comes in and starts talking to himself, thinking that no one's around him besides his puppet. And he hears him say that the plan is to let the submarine sink to the bottom and blow up. Courage finds Muriel and tries to warn her. But she is kind of upset about this tea situation, so she goes to confront Katz about that. She tells him that it's rotten, but it's actually TNT, which is what's going to be used to blow up the submarine. So Katz throws Muriel in jail and tells her that she's a spy trying to stop his plan to blow up the submarine. So he's doing this in order to ruin the substandard name, which is the submarine getaway that they're on right now, so that way his submarine cruise company can thrive. Courage goes to get help and launches himself out of the submarine to go to the Pentagon. At the Pentagon, there is the banana guy trying to sell some top secrets. The newscasters there reporting on someone selling top secrets. Who could it be? And inside, the general and lieutenant are doing what they always do.
Can't have a pizza summit without pizza.
No can do, sir.
Courage goes in and tries to warn them. But they don't listen, so he opts to kidnap the newscaster and he takes them to the submarine to interview Muriel from jail. She tells the newscaster that this TNT is bad tea. The general and lieutenant watching this are like, wait, we authorized that tea, so if this gets out, we're gonna lose our hot tub. Back in the submarine, Katz is ready to send it plummeting. Courage tries to stop him, but he accidentally pulls on the deepest lever. Katz opens a hatch and escapes and tells him that he has 2 minutes and 8 seconds, so have fun. He watches the submarine sink lower and lower and then gets eaten by a shark. Courage, at the very least, got the keys from Katz, so he's able to unlock Muriel from her cell, and we see a skeleton in the cell next door with the same hat that Muriel was wearing, so Katz caught yet another body. All the other passengers are freaking out, and this idiot opens a hatch, which causes the submarine to flood even faster. Courage finds the fizzy drink that the puppet guy was using for his act and drinks it and then burps bubbles around the passenger so that they can float to the surface. And that's how he saves everyone.
Courage, you saved everyone.
At home, Eustace is still being the worst, and another ad comes on the radio, kind of the same one as last time. There is this pink, like beam thing that's sweeping over the land. At home, Courage and Muriel are doing laundry, and Courage loves her homemade fabric softener. He pours the rest that's in this bottle all over him to make him nice and soft. But that was the last of it, so Muriel has to go into town to get her secret ingredient so that she can make more. The whole family goes, and we see as they're leaving a little bird come to their windowsill, super sweet, but then that pink beam sweeps over it and it turns into this nasty, mean thing. In the city, Muriel runs into her friend and she's super sweet, pets Courage. Inside the store, the light sweeps through and Courage, Eustace, and Muriel are unaffected, but everyone else in it is turned into these mean, nasty people.
Stupid, ugly, smelling, junky, stupid, stinky.
They go outside and see that someone stole Eustace's wheels off of the truck, so then Eustace steals the wheels off of this baby carriage so that they can leave.
Stealing from a baby, huh? Yeah, what of it? That's what nowhere needs in a leader. I nominate you for mayor.
Muriel accidentally bonks this little girl, and when she apologizes, the little girl says that she's being too nice to her, and then Muriel gets arrested. So that she can learn how to be cruel. Courage feels bad for Muriel, so then they see that he's showing empathy, so they go to arrest Courage as well, but Courage is able to escape. Eustace has to go catch him if he wants to run for mayor, and they give him this, which I don't know what this is.
Give me chop meat.
At Rehabilitation, they are trying to make Muriel hurt this little hamster, but she refuses.
Rumble, my hamster.
I don't want to hurt you, little thing.
Courage has made it into the wilderness and he sees the pink light again, but he sees where it's coming from, the top of this mountain, so he goes inside to see what's going on. And it's the same guy that we've seen before. New character though, and he's gassed because his cruelty curtain worked. He just tested it out on the city of nowhere, so next is the entire world. He sees Courage and passes the curtain over him yet again, but it still doesn't work, and Courage realizes that it's because of Muriel's fabric softener. Eustace, who was trying to catch Courage, knocks on the door, and while the scientist is distracted with him, Courage sneaks in these secret ingredients. He turns on the curtain again, but now with the new ingredients, so when it passes by, it turns everyone back to normal. Except for Eustace, it doesn't work on him. But he does get arrested for still being a piece of At home, they see that the scientist was elected mayor, and Eustace is at a rehabilitation center with the hamster trying to be nice to it.
Better.
Like this.
A colony of frogs are surrounding a dried pond. The king orders them to find a new pond, so they make their way to the farmhouse. Inside the house, Eustace is soaking his nasty feet, and a frog pops out of it.
Frog.
Courage is taking a bath, and he's playing with his cute little frog squeaky toy. And then a real frog pops out. Ew. And Muriel finds a frog in her tea. So they have been overrun by these frogs. The king comes through and orders them to build a new pond here in this house. But he's not talking to the frogs, he's talking to Eustace, Muriel, and Courage. Courage is up all night digging this hole for the pond.
Oh my.
And then Eustace fills it up with some hose water. Muriel has to go find lily pads, but she can't find any in the house. They accidentally drop a sponge, and then the frog leaps in and it works. So they gather so many sponges to use as lily pads. So once the pond is done, this isn't enough for the king. He also orders them to act like frogs. They have to sit, hop, and croak like a frog.
Oh! I find this all very demeaning.
It's so gross. This big muscle frog takes Courage into the kitchen and pours honey all over him to capture some flies. One of the frogs grabs all the flies and puts them all over Eustace and Muriel because they're gonna be the feast. The frogs are eating human legs that night. Courage covers himself in honey again, goes outside, gets all the flies on him, and then uses fly paper to get them off, staples them to the ceiling, gets all the frogs' attention. They all start eating them like frogs do with their tongues, but their tongues all get stuck onto the fly paper, so they're just hanging. Courage ties them up by their tongues and just swings them far away. The Frog King is left alone and he leaves to go find some new worshippers. Later, Courage packs up the hole and they're watching TV. The baseball game is on and we see that Buffo, the Frog King, he is the new catcher. In the city, a UFO comes down and vaporizes some buildings, and then these two little teddy bear creatures ask if they've seen a worm.
Okay, where's the worm? I keep telling you, ask first, then fry.
At the house, Courage is kicked out for playing his tuba.
Lousy, noisy, horn-blowing dog.
He continues to play it outside, and this little worm comes out from the hole and starts dancing. Muriel brings him out a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and as mentioned before, her special ingredient is vinegar, and she puts it on everything. Courage hates vinegar. When he takes a bite and Muriel tells him that there's a little bit of vinegar in it, he distracts her, spits up the sandwich in his mouth, buries it, and then puts the sandwich in his pocket. The UFO appears and asks about the worm. Courage plays the tuba and the worm comes out. Bears grab it, but it's not just a little worm, it's attached to this gigantic body. And then the worm eats the bears and Muriel. Courage follows it underground, and from inside the worm, the bears tell him that they need to bring the worm back to his owner. So Courage has to get the worm back on the ship and fly them back to their galaxy. Super easy. Courage plays a tuba to get the worm to follow him onto the ship. Then inside, he puts a cassette in a tape player, puts some headphones over the worm, and tries to figure out how to drive the ship. Flying the ship is like riding a bike, so Courage gets to stepping. He has to hurry because this worm is in its digestive phase. Courage crash lands onto this gigantic blue alien. This is Tulip, and this is the worm's owner. She asks about her teddies, but unfortunately, they're too far into the worm to be pushed out. So then Courage goes in to pull them out himself. They're about to be thrown into the stomach acid when Courage remembers he still has that sandwich in his pocket with the vinegar. He tosses it in and he causes the worm to throw them all up. Tulip is excited to have her teddy bears back, but she's also excited to have two new pets, Muriel and Courage. Courage hates this, so he steals her band-aid and uses it as a parachute. And run into the ship and fly home. This is a reference to this French movie, Fantastic Planet. It is about these giant blue aliens who keep humans as pets, but they're horrible to the humans. So I'm not sure why the teddies wanted to bring this worm back. Courage and Muriel get back home, and Muriel offers to make him a sandwich.
With just a wee dash of vinegar.
This is also the last episode that Lionel Wilson plays Eustace in because unfortunately he passed away. So RIP. They still use some of his catchphrases, so it's not so noticeable, but Arthur Anderson does do a good job. He definitely tries to emulate a lot of the characteristics that Lionel Wilson gave to Eustace. It's very similar. The guard at the Louvre tells them that they're closing in 5 minutes, and Muriel begs to go inside because she said that her mom told her that she looks just like the Mona Lisa.
You look nothing like the Mona Lisa, and I give you 5 minutes to go see for yourself.
Such a dig. He calls them stupid Americans. Inside, they can see that Venus and Mars are lining up. They go to the Mona Lisa, and Muriel asks Courage to snap a pic of her, and while he's about to take the picture, he notices that the Mona Lisa is moving. So this freaks him out, obviously. Eustace tells Courage to take a picture of him and this guy, which is the Thinker. The guard announces that it's closing time, and Muriel and Eustace are still, for some reason, wandering the museum. They reach this exhibit. This is the American Stupid exhibit, so when the guard walks by, he doesn't see anything out of the ordinary. After they wake up, Muriel wants to see the Mona Lisa one more time, and as she's gazing at it, the painting, along with all of the other art exhibits in the museum, start to glow. Once the planets fully align, Mona Lisa comes to life and puts Muriel in her painting. The Thinker also snatches up Eustace and steals his clothes. So now Eustace is the Thinker. Him and Mona Lisa start to flirt. They go on little dates throughout the paintings.
Come on, big guy. Let's see you and me get naturale and jump right in.
Courage tries to follow them to this Monet painting, but there's no dogs allowed, so he gets kicked out. He finds Muriel and she tells him to hurry up because she feels herself drying.
Get me out before it's too late.
Courage finds them in a Salvador Dali painting, and you can see that the Mona Lisa is super annoyed with the Thinker because he just refuses to go with the flow. He has to think about every little thing he does. All she wants is for someone to just grab her and kiss her. So Courage comes up with a little plan. He goes into this painting and steals Cupid's arrow. And then goes to the kissing sculpture, shoots the guy with it, shows him a picture of Mona Lisa so that he can fall in love with her.
Whoa, mama. Sorry, baby. I think we should see other people.
And she leaves the Thinker for him immediately, like no second thoughts. As they're kissing, Courage takes the painting and traps them both in it with Muriel. But then takes Muriel out of it. So the Mona Lisa is now the guy from the kissing sculpture and her in different clothes and kissing. Yes. The planets align and the Thinker gets stuck in this cafe painting. The girl from the kissing sculpture is left alone. And then Eustace is stuck as the Thinker. Courage sees this painting and in the background he sees that their farm is there. So they jump in right before things completely settle and it's their house.
Sisters.
And in their house, they're wondering when Eustace is getting home.
Somebody scratched my back.
Stupid American.
They're coming home from a county fair, and Muriel has her first place ribbon. Courage has cotton candy and this little fish she must have won at the fair.
My, isn't it a marvelous fair this year?
As they're driving, they see this swarm of crows flying by. This scares Courage, which scares Eustace into driving the truck off the road.
Watch what you're doing.
The truck gets stuck, and while there, they see the giant crow creature coming towards them. Eustace beeps its horn and scares the crows, revealing that they were carrying a scarecrow. Muriel takes pity on it and brings it home to fix him up. At home, it's a full-on operation, and Courage is helping. She fixes him up, get his new, and then the Scarecrow comes to life and tries to thank her, but he has no mouth, so Muriel cuts a mouth for him. Eustace storms in, is a dick, and starts throwing Muriel's stuff around. This angers the Scarecrow and he tries to scare him, but Eustace just tells him to get away from him.
Get away from me!
Oh my god. Muriel sews a mouth on him and tells him not to worry that he will get his scaring power back.
Courage! Would you mind pouring us all a wee dram of lemonade?
Just then a spaceship comes down and tries to get Muriel. He pushes the Scarecrow out of the way, and then Courage comes in and screams so loud that his heart comes out. This scares the alien, so it just gets back in his ship and flies away. That night, the Scarecrow is listening to some motivational tapes and starts working out.
I am bad. People fear me.
I am bad. People fear me.
The next morning, he comes in jacked as shit, and he throws Eustace out of the house. Muriel comes back, and Courage tries to warn her, but then he also gets thrown out. He takes Muriel to the basement to protect her, and Courage sees from the window that she's just there by herself, so he tries to get in, but it's been guarded with all these booby traps. Eustace, who just wants some jelly, throws Courage through this dragon. He's able to get to the basement and save Muriel, and he takes Eustace and they all drive away in his truck. The Scarecrow sees them and he goes on this truck, which I don't know what it's called, but he chases them on this throughout the cornfield. Their truck gets stuck, so Courage has to take them on foot, but then he sees that a crow is attacking the Scarecrow and he calls for the other crows to come and jump him. When Courage and Muriel shoo away the crows, he's left in pieces. Muriel and Courage tell him to pursue some other talents instead of scaring, and Courage has an idea. So later at the fair, we see that he's now driving the hayride.
Get off of me! Get off! Hey! Hey! Hey!
Muriel is doing laundry outside, and someone is watching her from afar.
Yes, very nice. I can work with that.
Ew. When she goes inside, they hear a knock at the door, and when they open it, they see this present there. Courage is excited to open it, and inside is Mando's magic kit. And Courage gets to play with it. He performs in front of Eustace and Muriel, but Eustace is not impressed. Muriel tells him to do the big trick at the bottom of the box, and when he does, this happens. And the amazing Mando appears. Who says these aren't tricks, they're magic. For his next magic trick, he needs an assistant, but he doesn't want Muriel. He has plans for Muriel. He picks Eustace. He blows a little magic dust, and then Eustace is inside of the TV.
Where'd you go?
Hey! Where am I?
He's super excited about this until he realizes he's in a boxing ring. Not good for him. The next trick now requires Muriel's assistance, and all he does is blow some dust in her face. She seems normal until her eyes pop out like this. Mando tries to leave, but Courage stops him, and he pulls on him so hard that his skin suit comes off, revealing that he's this evil alien. He says that by midnight the transformation will be complete and he will be taking Muriel as his bride. What is with these creeps? They're so gross. Leave Muriel alone. Courage tries to call the doctor, but the doctor tells him that he can't do anything. Magic must be fought with magic, and so Mando turns him into a head of lettuce.
I am now a head of lettuce.
There's only one more hour until Muriel's transformation is complete, and she's so far gone that she's being mean to Courage. He does a trick, and while Mando is distracted, he steals some of the powder and tries to throw it on Muriel, but it doesn't work, and Mando just throws some back on her to turn her back into the alien self. And Mando tells Courage that he needs to work on his presentation, and he only has 4 minutes to do so. So Courage puts on this show.
Oh, lovely.
He ends up sneezing and sneezes the powder onto Muriel, turning her back to her old self, and then Mando into a bunny.
You're going to hear from my agent about this.
Later that day, Eustace is still in the TV and he's being chased by Carmen, who we saw in season 2. And then for his last trick, Courage pulls his head out of a hat.
Oh, how I love magic. Oh.
Get real, kid.
Muriel is feeding the birds, and we see the little bluebird from the Curtain of Cruelty episode, and he's still kind of an asshole. And then Muriel gets snatched up by a bird.
A bird would never do us any harm.
Courage tries to warn Eustace, but Eustace just scares him with the mask. So Courage follows the bird to the nest, and when he gets up the tree, he's glad to see that she's not getting eaten, but the mama bird is telling her that she is going to Florida to a singles mixer because she's not about to raise 3 babies on her own. She needs to find a husband. She kind of sounds like Linda Belcher.
Now you take good care of my precious little babies.
Muriel agrees to watch them and makes Courage help. She asks him to go get them some food, and Courage goes back to the farm and creates a 5-star dish.
Oh.
When he gets back, he doesn't know how to go up the tree while holding the food, so he uses his tongue, climbs up. Once he gets to the top, Muriel tells him that birds don't eat escargot. He literally went all out, and so he just eats it. She tells him that they eat worms, so he needs to go find worms. He digs them up and again can't bring them up using his hands, so he has to put the worms on his tongue to climb up the tree. Once up there, Muriel tells him, "Oh, sorry, they can't eat those whole, you have to chew it for them." He does, and then the birds finally eat.
Isn't that lovely?
Now that they're fed, they start playing, but they're playing with the beehive, and when Courage tries to put the beehive back, he gets stung. Then they start crying again because they're still hungry, so Courage has to go back home, steal Eustace's fishing bait, and bring it back.
Stupid thieving dog! Get back here with my thing!
When Courage is almost to the tree, he accidentally drops the worm bucket and starts grabbing them. He sees one of them fall into this hole, and when he reaches in, there's a rattlesnake in there who he mistakes for a worm and just pulls him on up, puts him in the bucket, and brings him to the tree. When he gets to the top of the tree, he starts chewing the worms again for the baby birds and almost chews the snake until it reveals himself. And then it spots these 3 little baby birds and plots to eat them.
Come here, babies. Don't be afraid. Come and play with Papa's rattle.
But Courage throws the beehive at the snake. It misses him and falls on Eustace instead, causing honey to get all over him. And then all these feathers get stuck on him. He just looks like this giant bird. The snake sees this giant bird and decides, I'd rather eat this than the little babies, so goes after Eustace. That night, the mama bird comes back, and she had no luck at the singles mixer, but she did find a cute guy on the way home.
Say hello to your new daddy.
And it's Eustace.
Where's my dinner?
Isn't he just fabulous?
Courage is trying to teach the fish that he got at the fair how to jump through this hoop. Muriel comes through with some sushi and Eustace tries to eat it but then spits it out when he finds out that it's raw fish. Courage almost takes a bite out of it, but then his fish is like, what are you doing? So he doesn't. Courage spots this giant fish looking at them in the window and tries to warn Eustace, but he just scares him. There's a knock at the door and the fish lady tells him that she is a fish missionary. Missionary, if you must. She offers them the opportunity to return from whence they came. Muriel thinks that this is Scotland. She says that it's for free. So they get into this lady's van. Once they leave, we see that the little fish is eating the sushi. In the van, Courage sees that the van is going underwater, and then they stop in this underwater dome. They go inside and there are these 3 judges waiting for them with an octopus bailiff. This is the Undersea tribunal that re-educates land folk. Muriel is confused because she thought that they were going to Scotland. Then she says, no, you came from the sea. Everything did. They put them in front of the 3 judges and this missionary says that she has observed them and they are very uncivilized. A few of their infractions are wearing shoes, blinking, and imprisoning fish for their own amusement.
Your puffinesses, I petition the court to pronounce these 3 guilty.
They're sentenced to be civilized in this bowl. Dai Lung is already there and they take him out and put him into the ocean.
Which way you going, you fool?
They give them temporary gills until they're able to grow their own. In the bowl, the octopus feeds them fish flakes and Muriel and Eustace quickly become fish people. Courage gets out of the bowl and takes off his gills. When the octopus chases him, he cracks his bowl and then uses his tentacles to suction the bowl and then the other to suction the van that they came in. And then he reverses that van and he uses him as a tow truck. They make it all the way to the surface, but they're chased by the judges on these crawfish. When they get home, they find the missionary watching TV on their chair, eating the sushi. So they decide to release the humans to deal with her. They put her in the bowl and they leave. At home, they still haven't gotten rid of their fish tendencies, so Muriel is soaking in the tub downstairs while Eustace is in the bowl getting fed fish flakes. They come out of the movie theater having just watched 1001 Dalmatians. Muriel and Courage loved it, but Eustace didn't, obviously. And then he hits Courage with the popcorn, and guess who's watching? Benton Tarantella. Muriel remembers him, but she didn't realize what was going on the last time they met, so she is excited to see him. He asks them to star in a new movie, Angry Nasty People, and they are getting paid, so Eustace says yes. Go to a burger place, and Tarantella tells them that they're going to be playing really angry, nasty people, and as an acting exercise, they are to be mean to the waitress. So Muriel tells her that the toast is soggy, and feels bad doing this, and then Eustace squirts mustard and ketchup on her, and this makes her cry. Tarantella wants more, so he pulls out a camera and Eustace does the same to Courage. The next day, Eustace is still Courage and Muriel is hitting him with the rolling pin and Tarantella wants more. So Eustace starts to hurt Courage with words and I hate this so much.
Face that could crack a sink!
Tarantella needs a break to get a drink, and Courage overhears him in the kitchen on the phone telling his partner Lazo the real star should be here soon. They keep shooting scenes with Eustace being meaner and meaner to Courage, and the last scene is Eustace chasing Muriel and Courage in their truck. Tarantella hooks up the camera to show them the rough cut.
This is pretty good.
The true evil of Eustace comes out of the TV. His name is Mr. Nasty, and Eustace likes him. They go live with Angry Nasty People episode 1, and people from the diner are watching.
You're all lousy beanheads.
Mr. Nasty just makes fun of everyone, and Muriel and Courage look rough. They just want to retire from showbiz, but Eustace refuses because of the money.
Stupid, ugly, worthless losers.
It's the stupid, ugly, worthless losers!
And Ben doesn't care about this because Muriel isn't the star, Mr. Nasty is. Courage goes to the attic and finds quicksand. He digs a hole, pours it in, and just has a little pit of quicksand in the living room. He lures Mr. Nasty and Tarantella into the living room and acts as if he's gonna throw Muriel into this pit of quicksand. The director focuses all of his attention on this, which makes Mr. Nasty jealous.
Hey, Mr. Director, I'm the star.
So Mr. Nasty leaves. Courage trips Tarantella into the quicksand, leaving the camera there to film this happen, and the audience loves it.
Now, this is nasty. Real nasty.
That night, Courage and Muriel watch Eustace's new show with Mr. Nasty.
You're stupid and ugly.
Mr. Nasty cuts his ass, and he's fine with it, but then he informs him that he's going to be getting a pay cut, and his agent is taking 95% of the earnings.
Stupid farmer.
Oh, yes.
This has to be one of the most memorable episodes of my childhood. I remember watching this a lot, and I remember really liking it. Courage and Muriel are trying to garden outside, but nothing is working. Eustace is complaining about not having food. A breeze blows a newspaper with an ad on it that says, "Free food, you just have to call 555-GLUTTON." A rep from Mega Veg thanks them for volunteering to test their product out. This is an edible product that can withstand the harsh elements of nature, and they will be planted under this environmental dome that surrounds the entire house. Once they step inside, he welds it shut. And tells them to bury the seeds and then press the button to activate them. They do this, press the button, and a tornado forms. And then a storm. Once they're all inside, they hear that the storm stopped. And when they take a peek outside, they just see a lush vegetable garden surrounding their house.
Let's start the harvest, Courage.
Muriel inspects these tomatoes and hears buzzing, so she thinks a honeybee got trapped inside. Courage looks at these green beans and they growl at him. Muriel still picks them and gets ready to cook them. Before Courage can even do anything, they reveal themselves to be these creatures that they are, and they try to eat Muriel. Courage saves her, and Muriel goes to tell Eustace that the vegetables are trying to eat them, but he obviously doesn't believe them until he tries to take a bite of this lettuce head. They run outside through this vegetable garden, but as they run, they activate the other vegetables and everything starts chasing them. Courage finds a seed packet and reads the ingredients, and they include these.
Ingredients? Hornets? Pythons? Piranhas? Oh no!
They start getting attacked, so Courage starts pressing the button until it starts snowing. This slows all of the vegetables down, except for the tomatoes that put on earmuffs and keep attacking. They hide out inside, and there's this cabbage that likes Eustace's disgusting feet, and then more vegetables start to break in. Courage tries everything. He tries a machete, he tries a lawnmower, he tries a cow, but nothing works. In the attic, Courage smells Eustace's disgusting foot and finds this thing. So this is a flick gun apparently, and Courage squeezes his disgusting dirty sock into this so that he can spray the essence of it onto the vegetables. The vegetables like this and then start eating each other until they're all dead. All that's left is their vegetable guts, and Eustace eats all of it. The Mega Veg company takes back their dome, and we see Eustace, who ate all of the food, look like this.
Want more food? Where's my dinner?
At the North Pole, it has completely melted away. The Snowman comes back, and he has created a new device called the Cold Touch.
You're the one with the minus touch.
He needs to create a new home, but he doesn't want to do it here because there's way too many memories. So he spins this globe to try to find where his new home will be, and he points right on to nowhere, Kansas. The family is coming home from square dancing, and it starts snowing.
Well, would you look at that, Eustace? It's snowing.
Can't be snowing. It's August.
They go inside for some warmth, but inside it's not any less cold because the snowman is there, making this the new West Pole.
Center of the new Arctic region, which you will help me complete.
Courage is in charge of snow cones, Muriel is in charge of entertainment, and Eustace is to sit on top of the pole to tell him when the sun has been blocked out. Some time passes by and they are freezing. Eustace finally sees that the sun is blocked and comes down to tell him. So now that it's complete, the snowman tells him that they're going to be like a family down here.
Wait, hear me out first. You've become like family to me.
And if they stay, they get to be his snow creatures. They try to back away, but literally freeze.
Plus puppies. Differentially temperatured individuals.
The snowman takes this as them wanting to stay and is so happy that he sings a song.
I'm feeling fine just because you're mine. Life is like a song since you came along.
Which they don't typically do songs on the show, so when they do like here and there, I have no problem with it. The snowman tries to offer them some ice cream, tries to play piñata with them, hula hoop, but they can't move because they're frozen. So the snowman is sad yet again. He's really sad about being the last snowman. He just misses his friends.
My heart longs for my snowman friends from the old days. The days before things got hot.
So when Courage got frozen, he was trying to warm Muriel up with his tongue, and he got frozen mid-lick. So the snowman grabs him, breaks off his tongue, and sits him down to tell him the story of what happened to him. He says the blanket protecting them from the sun ripped. So a little ozone layer joke, which is crazy for 2003. Like, they were fully saying, yeah, global warming is a thing, because back then no one believed it. Courage has an idea, and the heat from the light bulb idea is enough heat to melt him. He gets on a plane to fly to the ozone layer. Once he finds it, he jumps out and sews it back together like a blanket. And then he parachutes down with Eustace's pants. That was mentioned in the beginning of the episode because he tore it square dancing. So now that the North Pole is no longer melting, his friends come back to life. Courage goes back home and gives him a postcard of their friends in the North Pole. And he even brings back one of them, which I think is the snowman's girl.
Let us go home.
He immediately goes back with her, and all of the snow starts melting. All Eustace can think of after is where his pants were, which Courage left at the North Pole.
Dog, prepare to meet your doom!
This is another episode that I remember watching constantly. I feel like season 3 was really the one that was constantly being replayed on Cartoon Network. I remember the Dome of Doom, Snowman's Revenge, and then this episode. So they're at an antique quilt shop and Eustace's allergies are going crazy, which I feel him on because this happened to me when I went into a rug store.
Yeah, darn quilt dust.
Courage is so precious. Muriel sees a sign to join their quilt club and she asks the owners about it. The owners are these women.
May we
Eliza and Eliza Stitch, the Stitch sisters. They tell her that they're very particular on who gets to join their quilt club. Courage sniffs their quilt and it starts to growl, so he freaks out. Muriel tries to show them a sample of one of Eustace's memory quilts that she's making, and they're like, no, we like to make new memories, so you can come back with something better. At home, Eustace is sick and Muriel is in the basement trying to come up with a better quilt. She brings them this sample and it's a peacock. They don't like it. She tries again, this time a truck cover. They still don't like it. But they ask her how her husband feels about this and she says that she's not sure, she'd have to ask him. After this, the quilt says no again.
You have to do better than that trifle.
I feel really bad for her because she's really trying to get into this club and she's wearing herself out. She comes back this time with a football field length quilt along with all of the yard lines too. They ask her how badly she wants to belong and she says, She's so far gone, and they ask her if it's more than how much she wants to be with Eustace, and she says who? She doesn't even remember her husband. So now the quilt is like, yeah, we'll take you. So she's in the club and they tell her that they'll be going over that night for her initiation. When they come over, it's just them. There's no other members. They tell her to sew this design into the quilt. Courage takes a picture of this and takes it to the computer where he finds out that this is a universal sign of everlasting life dating back to prehistoric men throughout present day. And in the pictures that he is shown by the computer, you can see the Stitch sisters in the background of each one. Muriel sews the symbol and then they tell her to sew it into the quilt. Courage comes downstairs and sees the Stitch sisters sewing Muriel into the quilt. He tries to save her, but they tell him that she doesn't care about him anymore, and soon she won't even know who he is. Courage runs to the basement and finds the box with the memory quilt inside of it. And then we see Muriel go inside the quilt along with all the other members that are on the other patches. The memory quilt box makes its way upstairs and the sisters are like, oh, we have to throw that out because she's not going to need it. And they go to throw it out and Courage comes out of it and ties their asses up. He then sews in the little piece from Eustace's memory quilt that Muriel showed them in the beginning into the quilt. Muriel, who's inside of the quilt, sees this and remembers Eustace, but it's not strong enough yet. The Stitch sisters also escape their rope, so Courage last minute decides to rip off his fur and sew his fur pattern into the quilt. This works and he's able to pull Muriel out of the quilt. The quilt gets mad at this and starts to engulf the sisters now. The rest of the people also escape and Muriel is excited to have new quilt club members. And then Eustace comes down with this swollen nose, scares everyone away, and tells Muriel that he ran out of tissues and he needs to blow his nose. The only thing there is the little patch of the Stitch sisters, so he uses that. They're at a bazaar. Muriel is looking for an anniversary gift while Eustace is looking for parts for his truck. Muriel asks Courage to put some medicine on the wooden tick on her foot. I hate this so much. It's disgusting. Shirley makes an appearance. She has to stand at the bazaar and Muriel sees this necklace.
You may have the precious treasure for a mere $5.
Eustace doesn't want to pay the $5, so he trades his deed for his oil well for the necklace. Once they leave, Shirley realizes that this isn't an oil deed, it's just an oil bill. She hates this, so she curses them to swindle each other. At home, the swindling begins. Muriel plays this game for the last piece of dessert. obviously cheats. She gets to eat it. Eustace pours her tea over and over and over again, and then when she has to go to the bathroom, he sets up a toll booth that costs $3 and her rocking chair.
Can't get through without a token.
Muriel does the dice game. Eustace bets his TV, loses it.
Man puts up a telly. Lady up rules.
Eustace tricks her into thinking that there's going to be 40 days and 40 nights of rain and that she needs to use her fridge as a boat, as well as put all of her valuables in pairs of 2. When she does it, she has to go inside of an umbrella really quick, and Eustace steals everything.
Where's the rain? Where's my stuff? Where's my fridge?
Muriel starts playing her drums obnoxiously loud. They start throwing shit at each other. Courage is the victim of most of it, but he is able to get the necklace off of Muriel's neck and runs back to the bazaar to give it back to Shirley. Shirley is watching her curses through her crystal balls. One of them is Muriel and Eustace, and then the other one are these teenagers who have the heads of rotten bananas.
They give me rotten bananas, so I give them rotten bananas.
I hate when she does things like this because, like, you're a bum. If people don't want to give you stuff, get the f over it. She sees that the teens still care for each other, even though they're rotten bananas. She undoes the curse. She tells Courage that giving the necklace back is not enough. So then Courage has an idea and runs back home. At home, they each have nothing left to swindle from one another, but then Courage points out Muriel's tick on her foot and Eustace sneakily takes it away. Not in a selfless manner, but more so, he's just trying to take whatever she has left, and that's all she has left.
Oh, moving is always a hassle, but it does have more space.
Shirley sees this and thinks that Eustace was very selfless in taking her pain away and giving it to himself. So she undoes the curse. Later that night, Eustace is playing cards with a tick, and they have a little bet. If Eustace wins, he has to get out of there, but if the tick wins, he gets to move up to Eustace's earlobe. The tick wins.
5 aces. What do you say to that, Tick?
6 aces. I'm moving up.
So gross. Muriel is watching a sad movie. After the movie, this commercial shows up with this guy.
Got your attention.
He has a special on Flan. This commercial hypnotizes Muriel and Eustace, so they start rummaging through the fridge trying to eat all the flan they can find. Super side note, but I love Courage's front profile. It's so cute. They literally sound like addicts trying to get their fix of flan.
I smell flan. I know it. Where's your flan?
They go for a drive and we see a bunch of billboards of the same guy. They go to Dill's general store, but there are a bunch of other people also looking for flan. Basically the entire city. Fun fact about me, if you care, I actually don't really like flan that much. I've never liked it. I remember trying it for the first time in I think 4th grade and being like, oh, this is what you guys are always talking about. Courage finds a doctor and he's also an addict, and then Courage gets trampled. Outside, Muriel and Eustace hijack a flan truck. The next day, the house is covered in flan, and Muriel and Eustace look like this. It's actually so gross. Courage finds an address and takes the truck back to it. Before he leaves, he backs into the house by accident. The address is the Flan factory, and he sees a bunch of other trucks lining up to go into the garage, so he joins the line and rear ends another truck. Inside the factory, he finds product development and also a media room where he finds the guy hypnotizing this other guy into buying flan.
Buy fantasy flan. Buy fantasy flan.
Courage also gets hypnotized, and the king of flan, he calls himself, says that he is going to take this commercial nationwide. Courage and the other guy that got hypnotized earlier are fighting for flan, but the only thing that gets Courage to break away from this is the memory of Muriel looking nasty. So he rejects the flan, and the king of flan starts rolling to him like this. He throws another tub of flan to Courage, and Courage can't resist. He eats it, but he throws it up. He throws it up all over this guy, and he doesn't even flinch. He chases him to the top of a billboard, throws more flan at him. Courage throws up again. He still doesn't mind until all the Flan throw up causes him to slip from the rope and fall. He takes the billboard down with him and he falls right through the factory up until the ground floor, and the billboard gets stuck on the ceiling. He's stuck there only being able to see this billboard and then gets hypnotized by his own commercial. Courage then goes into the media room and makes his own commercial to unhypnotize everyone into not liking Flan at all. At the factory, Courage and the King of Flan are both eating all of the Flan, and look at how big they got.
That's showbiz.
Flan?
They're on another free holiday. The plane they're on crash lands. And they arrive to Hip Hip Island. Chief Wiki Wiki introduces himself and his daughter.
Oh, Wiki Wiki, whoa.
She gives him flower necklaces and kind of flirts with Eustace. Muriel asks him why they picked them for this re-vacation, and the chief says, oh, we just looked in the phone book and saw that you were in the middle of nowhere and we thought no one will miss you while you're gone. On vacation, he tells the other natives to dress up this lady for hot time. On their way to the volcano, Wiki Wiki Woo is flirting it up with Eustace. She even gives him a wedding coconut. Once at the top of the volcano, the human offering can start. They start cranking Muriel's chair to slowly fall into the volcano. Courage tries to stop them, but the chief tells him that they have to do this to appease the volcano god. He needs a human offering, otherwise the volcano will erupt. Courage begs to speak to this volcano god, and they're like, yeah, you can just go down into the volcano and do it, but you have to hurry because Muriel is getting thrown in right after this boar over here finishes all the pies. Courage tries to climb down, but it's hot, so he ends up falling down. Thankfully, right in front of the office of Otto Real Estate. Inside is Otto with a bunch of ACs, and he tells them that once he scares off the locals, he's going to turn this place into a tropical ski resort, because just because you want to ski doesn't mean that you have to be cold. Courage tells him about the human offering. And he's like, ugh, whatever, I guess I'll just have to let everything cook. And he erupts the volcano and gets out of there, trapping Courage.
Better get out of here before it's soup time.
Meanwhile, at the top, the pig finished eating all the pies, so Muriel gets tossed in. Again, thankfully, right outside of the office. Courage grabs her and climbs all the way back to the top with her. And once they get to the top, the volcano erupts. The chief is mad because he thinks that they angered the volcano god. Otto, who escaped on this little snowmobile device that was going to create the snow, gets stuck on a branch. And so when they arrive, Courage turns it on, creating snow in the path of the lava, which scares the lava back into the volcano. And they're fine, but it sweeps Otto in the process, so Otto gets swept right back inside the volcano. That night, they say, oh, I'm so sorry for trying to kill you. And the chief says, I guess there's no volcano god. And then out of nowhere, this guy pops out. The daughter, being rejected by Eustace, puts the wedding coconut on his head. So this means that they're probably going to keep sacrificing humans. How fun. Okay, so as always, I like to see what they included this time in the intro. First up, we have Mecha Courage. You can't really tell, but this is a little dog head that popped out when it was harassing Courage. Next, we have the Scarecrow. Next is the Stitch Sisters. Next is the Disgusting Virus. Next is one of the Valkyrie sisters. And finally, we have King of Flan. Okay, now it's time to rank them, and you guys know I love to do this straight from the dome, so let's go. I will admit, though, that this one was a little bit harder because I felt like most of the episodes episodes didn't really have too many distinctions between each other, so they pretty much blurred, and I feel like they're really interchangeable in my list besides a few. And I did think about this for a few days and I still feel the same way, but I will give you my current list. This one felt more like the Cajun Fox episode, like a little Looney Tunes, and I wasn't gonna put this completely at the bottom because I did like the mom bird, but I don't think she was there for that long, and definitely not long enough for me to consider putting it any higher. It was just too much of the same things, like Courage going up and down the tree and having to chew all the bird food. It just became kind of a dry at some point, and all because the mom forced Muriel to be a babysitter, and not even forced her, like literally kidnapped and then forced her. But it was really sweet to see what Courage and Muriel are willing to do for other creatures. Overall, there wasn't really a villain besides the snake, and the snake was there for maybe like a minute, so I don't know if I can even count him. Yeah, nothing really too interesting about this episode, so unfortunately it has to be at the bottom. Okay, I don't know what it is about this episode, but I'm just not really a fan. The only reason it's higher than the birdies is because there's a little bit more of a story and there is a clear villain. But I don't know, I just find them disgusting and entitled. Like, they're just an infestation. I find them repulsive. Buffo, I mean, he's just like an entitled king. That's typical. There were a lot of frogs. We only really got to see 3 of their personalities. This honestly reminds me of the eggplant episode, but with the eggplant episode, at the very least, they were getting revenge on something. Like, this was just them randomly finding a farm, and I don't know where they ended up after they got flung, but I'm glad they are far away from me. Okay, so this one was a little bit higher until I rewatched it while editing because I feel like this is kind of fetish content. The feeding was very specific, and the fact that they got so big after one night, I know that's typically what they do after they eat a lot. It was also the fact that Muriel was in a robe when she isn't typically in a robe for the episode. Maybe just a scene here and there, but the entire episode in a robe is a little crazy, and also barefoot. It just felt way too specific. I don't know if the internet has destroyed my mind, but it's either destroyed my mind or made me more aware. So that's all I kept thinking about. And not just that, but also the throw up, especially on a character that doesn't seem to mind and just kept smiling at it. Yeah, I just couldn't help but notice it on my rewatch. But aside from all that, the villain was kind of dumb. I mean, how do you get hypnotized by own commercial? I feel like there should be some type of failsafe, no? What I will give it though, it was kind of fun going outside of the farm and going to Dill's store. I like when they do that because it adds some type of life to the universe. And we got to see the city people that we are used to. Shirley episodes don't really do it for me. This is another one of those episodes where she's just extremely entitled to whatever she wants. She cursed those 2 teenagers because they gave her a raw banana. Was that kind of dish? Sure, but they're not obligated to share their food with you. Get a job. We all know how I feel about the feet in this show. Disgusting. So the tick, absolutely gross. But I thought it was funny at the end that he still lost playing cards. It was just way too much back and forth between Muriel and Eustace, especially since it's so out of character for them. It just felt like it kind of dragged on a little bit too long, but just the fact that it didn't gross me out, besides the tick, put it above the other 3. I absolutely hate Di-Lung so bad. I know that's the point of his character, to be the worst, but I hate those type of characters so much. I truly wish they just never existed because they're just there to annoy us. That's the entire point of their character, and I can't stand it. He has absolutely no character development or growth, nothing. He always comes uninvited. His entire purpose is just to harass Courage. And again, I get it, but we already have Eustace for that. I don't want to see yet another character that's only goal is that. Seeing him at the end was entertaining though, but it was also heartbreaking seeing Muriel cuddle up with this robot. Like, girl, what are you doing? Seeing Courage get upset because of Muriel is a different type of heartbreak. When I was watching this, I felt like it was kind of a repeat of a lot of other episodes. And I feel like at this point, some of the episodes are starting to get a little bit repetitive. I do have certain formulas. It's not a specific formula for every single episode. It's, I would say, maybe like 4. A lot of episodes fall into those categories. So I do enjoy the formulas. I can't put them too high up if they're just following the same ones, you know? I feel like more creative ones should be at the top. They couldn't even be bothered to come up with a new character design for the scientists. They just use the same one that we've seen multiple times. And usually with the villains, at least, they come up with new designs. So that's why this one felt meh. This episode is literally just the Dr. Jallo episode, is it not? We have a scientist creating something that's going to make everyone else exactly like them, whether that be miserable, sad, mad, horrible. And then Courage puts something that Muriel came up with into the recipe or experiment, and it reverses everything. I did enjoy it, and the curtain design was really pretty. I can't really put it too much higher, but you know, at least Eustace at the end got his comeuppance. Okay, so I don't know if these little guys are even villains. I mean, they're just orphans trying to survive in the wilderness. I'm sure that's really hard. They do have a wanted poster though, so I don't know how innocent they are, but I think that they have to do this just to survive. I don't believe that they're just causing destruction and pain and suffering just for their own personal pleasure. You know, they kidnap Muriel, but then realize that she's a good mother figure and they didn't do anything to her. That's really all they wanted. And honestly, Eustace made me laugh this episode, so that gives it a plus. And at the end, it's Courage and Muriel kind of working together to save little creatures, which we always love to see. It was interesting because they put a random hand as one of the villains, like the Addams family. We have a little Latina representation. We're little ladrones. I love that. And honestly, Maria is an evil lady. She's out here scamming the elderly out of their identity and then frames them for robbery. And it was really sad seeing poor Muriel say, they can take my identity, but they are not taking Courage. So I love seeing someone that Courage rides for so hard ride for him just as hard. Eustace's little plot kind of brought it down for me because I just find him so annoying. Although he was out of the way most of the time, his little lines were just way too fillery for me. This was an interesting episode. I just think it's really creative, the fact that they came up with the idea to rehabilitate humans, because that's where we all came from. And then to have the twist that she is just a fraud and wants to be a human, essentially, was hilarious. Sitting there eating the sushi is crazy, girl. What are you doing? I feel like a lot of the in-between, though, was too much shenanigans. The Courage was just running around for a lot of it, and it also kind of took a minute. But that's what sucks about this show, is that the episodes are so short, so they only have so much time. So we have to somehow get into the ocean. That's gonna take a minute, and then we have to get back out to catch the fish. So the in between, you can't really do much besides shenanigans. So I totally get why they do it. It does make it a little weaker though. I was pretty entertained for most of it, but it felt just way too quick because nothing really happened in between. Yet another twist episode. This one wasn't really my favorite up until we saw that disgusting skin suit come off of that disgusting alien. That really did it for me. I don't know why these disgusting creatures won't leave Muriel alone. Seeing Courage play with his little magic was so cute. But then once Mando appeared, it was like, okay, like, what is your problem? I know there was something sinister because of the way he was talking, but I did not expect him to be an alien. That's so crazy. But at least we get to see Courage, you know, play with his little toys. I love when they make Courage kind of like a little kid. I think it's adorable, and he deserves to have his little fun. And also, it's weird that we fully acknowledge in this episode that magic is just a thing in this universe. Again, another villain who I'm not sure is really a villain, because he only acted like that to save Muriel, someone who saved him. And he was just trying to figure out his purpose in life. He was born a Scarecrow, so that's all he knew how to do. So overall, he's not a bad person. I mean, we saw him at the end driving the little hayride. It's just annoying that Muriel has to suffer just so these creatures can figure out their purpose. Like, just figure your problems out on your own. Don't drag Muriel into it. But him trying to scare Eustace was funny. And you know, he was just like a pathetic little villain. I feel bad putting him so low. And he was just brainwashed by a stupid podcast. But I know this is like another lesson episode. I feel like they do this lesson all the time though, and it's always at the expense of Muriel and Courage, and I just wish we didn't have to keep doing it. Surprisingly, this one, even though it's a Katz episode, isn't really my favorite. I think that they just brought Katz in just to have him in the episode. I don't think he was like integral to the actual episode. I think he worked in the other episodes because he was crazy. Clearly has lost his marbles. So the deserted island made a little bit more sense, and also the motel because he's just a crazy person. This one though, he had a very precise and specific plan to tear down this company. Why does he have so many companies? He has a submarine company now. I feel like it could have been anybody else. It didn't have to be Katz. And he revealed his plan to this puppet and then just dipped out and then got eaten by a shark. And also Courage leaving the submarine to then go to the Pentagon. Like, that was just so random, and I felt like it didn't need to be there. A lot of this episode felt too strung up together. I guess it was funny that he had to get the media to do a story for someone to listen. I just think it was way too random, and at the end it didn't even matter because he just burped everyone out. This one's as high as it is because Katz caught another body, so it does have that spooky element. I feel like if I was a kid, I would have just zeroed in on that skeleton and wouldn't have been able to think of anything else. I put this up a little bit higher because I love the different designs. We got to see a 3D model of Courage. When they put that extra effort, I have to appreciate it. The virus was disgusting as always. We got a call back to vinegar because Muriel loves vinegar. It's insane. And my favorite part is Courage's little mishap with this computer and essentially his mom, seeing what naughty little things he's up to when he's alone, and he's up there a lot. I just thought it was so cute and funny. And we got to go on the computer, which is always a fun time because the computer is a good character on the show. And we also got to see Courage be so cute and eat his little milk and cookies. Yeah, that's pretty much what saved this episode for me, because had it not been for any of that, that disgusting virus would be at the bottom. This is another villain who I don't know if I can really blame. I mean, he is trapped in this record, just got thrown into Eustace's lap, literally. So is it really the villain's fault that they're the victim? Not really. I mean, if you were a spirit, you would want to get out of there. It just sucks that it had to be Muriel, because it should have been Eustace, but Eustace can't do anything, has no talent, can't play the piano. If he could, it would have been him. And honestly, Courage wouldn't care, which is my favorite part about him. I don't think actually he saved just Eustace in a really long time. The last time was the Queen of the Black Puddle episode, if I'm not mistaken. And that was only for Muriel. These Shirley episodes I like a little bit better because she's not the main antagonist. This was a different villain, a fun, creative villain. And the whole solution of going digital is so funny. Like, he burned a CD. That's so cute. But also with the villain, did you guys see how popping he was? I mean, he came back from the dead, sure, that's crazy, but to have all those people show up just to jam to his tunes, like he was really about it. This one is this high up because I thought it was a fun concept. They're on vacation yet again, and we have more non-villain villains. They're in the middle of a war, and then we have these two star-crossed lovers, and they put an end to it. Clearly they're not deranged people, because just because someone on your side fell in love with someone on the other side doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop the war. But they did, and they had that cute little musical number at the end. I'm not really a musical girly, but I thought it was beautiful. I thought all of it was so pretty. The horses, the rainbow in the sky, the wedding at the end. It was just a cute lovey-dovey episode. And honestly, I like the designs of the Valkyrie. I wish so bad that I looked like that and I was that big, because there's something about it. I love towering women, like Amazon women. I wish that was me, because they're a threat, and I wish I was a threat. I just thought it was cute that we already did a Scooby-Doo recap, so, you know, everything's connected. I know they did do a movie crossover, which I do want to cover eventually. This one could have been higher if the villain wasn't Ma. I hate her so much, but she fits the villain, you know, as opposed to Katz, he kind of was just there. Ma is part of this evil company that all they care about is profit no matter what. They literally put people at risk. They don't care. So them destroying the environment for Coral to make their disgusting wigs makes perfect sense. So she makes sense as a villain here. I just hate seeing her. And also she got defeated because of her baldness again. But it was cute seeing Courage and Muriel help little creatures. They weren't even in danger at first. They were just helping them to be helpful, which just shows how sweet they are. And I just love that they're doing it together. They do everything together. And this episode felt a little bit more dense because there was just so much going on. It started off with them just meeting the little Coralites. By the way, the Coralites remind me of the Plutonians from Rick and Morty. But yeah, we got to meet them. We had a cute little history lesson, and then we had a rescue mission. It was a cute, fun little episode. I just feel like others were, one, more my thing, and two, just a little bit better. And now we're at the top 10. So this is an episode, I know most episodes are kind of random and you have no idea where they're gonna go, but this one really caught me off guard because why is there a random storm goddess? And what do you mean this dog that you happen to see looks exactly like the dog you lost? That's insane. And then for Courage to find Duncan in a sewer, licking a magical bone, guarded by magical dog skellies. I don't know how they think of it, but I love it. I just love seeing how Muriel acknowledges her relationship with Courage and how close they are. Because I always remembered it as Muriel kind of being so oblivious to everything. But no, they have a full-on like little kid and mom relationship, except for the fact that she lets Eustace abuse him. But we got a little fun callback to the burger place in that meat episode. But I just think Courage is so smart. He figures out the situation and how to solve his problems. He used jealousy to get Duncan away from the bone, and it worked. I don't know what would have happened if he couldn't get the bone, but I truly think Muriel would have given her life for Courage, which is the type of episode I love seeing. This is another episode where it's like, well, what are we doing? The locals were just an interesting choice. They were fully going to sacrifice these people, and I'm sure they have before, and actually no, they fully sacrificed her. Muriel fell down the volcano. Like, in their head, she was sacrificed. So we know that they're willing to do it at the very least, or did it and failed. And I think that's kind of glossed over. Like, why is there a little party at the end? And also, they were right. There is a volcano god. So, I mean, can we really blame them? They were clearly doing the right thing, appeasing their volcano god. It was kind of going like a Scooby-Doo episode where the locals think that they're being haunted by this ancient thing, but in reality it's just some random business guy trying to scare them off their land. But at the end there's actually a volcano god. It just sucks about these episodes. They have to be 11 minutes long, so they can only develop it so much. After Courage was able to get back up the volcano, it was kind of just them running away. And then the obvious choice of using the snow machine because they talked about it right before. But the villains were insane this episode. He was one of my favorite villains in the previous season. I think this episode was a little bit weaker because what did he expect? He knows that the humans have a melting gene. He knows how it works. So why would he think that they would be able to survive in this environment? I get it though. He was just clearly depressed that he lost his home. Maybe he was just going crazy. I don't know, because he let these people freeze and just kept trying to play games with them. But what I do like about this episode is that the last time we saw him was him in a lake frozen, and when we jump back to him, his home is still melting. Most of it's gone. So I think that really shows these problems don't just go away because the episode ends. Like, it's still happening. And again, the whole global warming thing, I thought it was a fun, creative way to show kids about the ozone layer and the hole in it. The little musical was cute, even though I don't really like musicals, like I said before. This one was cute though. There's just something about this episode. It might be nostalgia, but I did enjoy it. And at the end, he got his friends back because of Courage. At the very least, once he got his friends back, he was out of there. I put put this one up a little bit higher because of the reference to Fantastic Planet. That's a movie that I watched recently. It's in French, so it took me a while to watch it because if you know me, I don't like watching subs. I feel like I'm reading too much of the time as opposed to watching it, and this looked like a really interesting movie to look at. What else was I gonna do? There was no English version that I could find, so I watched it in French and I really, really liked it. It was pretty dark at some points, so for them to use it as a reference in this kids show, I mean, like, I know the entire team is just so deep in this weird genre, and I absolutely love it, and I love that we get to see little bits and pieces of it. And if you're wondering, no, I did not look it up. The second I saw that blue alien, I immediately knew it was Fantastic Planet, so that definitely helped. I think what brought it down was a lot of the journey there, and then once we got there, it was pretty quick to end. I wish there was a little bit more. Maybe if we cut down the journey there a little bit more, and also catching the worm, could have spent a little bit more time on the planet. It's a really cool planet. It's a really cool setting. It's not just something that we're passing by in a spaceship. But alas, we had to get out of there real quick because Tulip was gonna put a collar on us. Another episode that didn't really have a villain. We have two little teddy bears trying to do their job. We have a worm who I don't even know how it escaped. And then we just have Tulip, who's clearly a little brat. It was a cute yet kind of creepy type of episode. This episode just reminds me of salad fingers, and I really like salad fingers, so I had to. Conway is so nasty. I would argue that he's not really a villain. He reminds me of, those fake wellness people. I just watched Apple Cider Vinegar, spoilers, and it's a show about this lady who faked having cancer and was saying that her recipes cured her cancer. But there was another story that we followed about other woman who had cancer, and she was doing alternative treatments like juicing and coffee enemas. She wanted to share a story about it and also encourage other people to try it, as opposed to either doing chemotherapy or like what she was supposed to do, which is amputate her arm. So one side of the story was clearly a villain lying and trying to take advantage of vulnerable people, but on the other side we had someone who genuinely thought this was working for her and wanted it to work for other people too. Conway falls kind of in the middle, only because what he's doing is bad for your body, but he's not charging for it. He's doing it for free. I don't know if it's more sinister or less sinister because of that. It could go either way. But that's why I don't know if he's really a villain. I mean, he said he's 197 years old. So clearly it's working for him. But I think the villainy part is that it doesn't work for everyone. And he's trying to convince these elderly people that it will, and these elderly people are very susceptible to just believe anything. The reason why he is more villainy is because he's promoting harmful things to make them live longer, and it's clearly messing them up, but he sees it as bettering them because yeah, they look disgusting, but they get to live longer. So I just think he's a really interesting character. It's not that high because it's so disgusting. This episode is gross, but I really think that Conway is a little bit more complex, and at the end he got stuck in his little bubble and did not mind. Okay, now we're at the top 5. I thought this was just such a cute, fun, lovey-dovey story, even though there is some pressure because Muriel's about to try. I don't know how frequently Venus and Mars align, but I think it's frequent enough that these paintings know what to do, and clearly they have to go back to their paintings. It just seemed like these paintings just wanted a night out. Maybe they were irresponsible and that's why the paintings aren't exactly the same when they get back, but I mean, why would they want people to know that they can come to life? I just don't see why they would want that. So I thought it was fun seeing not really villains but just other characters explore the world, and we get to explore with them, especially such well-known characters like the Mona Lisa and the Thinker, and they get to go into fun little paintings, and it really opens up the world of art to little kids. The ending kind of threw me for a loop. I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean. Like, I know everything resets, but if it weren't for that, I would be thinking about that for the rest of my life. But yeah, no, just a cute little lovey-dovey episode that I thought was really fun. I love seeing all the art come to life and the planets aligning. I think that's so cool and fun. It will be the only one in this top 5 because I'm more of a horror girly, so the rest of them kind of reflect that. Okay, so this is a little bit of nostalgia for me. This episode is the reason I know that song. I don't know the name of it, but that song has been engraved in my memory ever since, and every time I hear that song, I think about this episode. So I feel like that deserves a top 5 in your list. There's something about this episode I just think is so fun. I really wish they had more time to flesh it out, because we immediately know that something's wrong with the plants. They have only so much time. And I think it's one of those episodes where the villains are not really like someone going after them for a specific purpose. These are just monsters that were created by them unintentionally, but still by them. And the only thing they know how to do is just attack and eat. Those type of villains are the scariest because there's not really outsmarting them. You just have to figure out a way to destroy them. And I think Courage, so resilient, so smart, figured out immediately what to do. So story-wise, fun, visually beautiful, sound design, loved it. But I had to reserve the top 3 for more specific villains. I loved Benton Tarantella. He's just one of my favorite villains. I cannot with the way he was just standing out there while they were fighting, like, yes. He just makes me laugh. And I love that he's so relentlessly evil, but also about his money. He could just film that to create that evil personified version of them and just have it go crazy in the town. But no, he does it to make a show so he can make some money. You saw how much money Eustace was making, and he had merch, he had all this stuff. He clearly has a passion for directing, and last time we checked he was an amateur, but it seems like he's a little bit more established. Also hilarious that he somehow escaped and he's just in town like walking around. I think that's so funny. It's just a funny way to bring back a villain that I just know was so scary to a lot of kids, and then to have the thing he wanted so bad to be his demise is just beautiful. Great storytelling. I like the Sandman as a villain because he is someone who is supposed to make us sleep. He's not a bad person, but he's just so tired that he's willing to become the villain. And he's just one of those characters that's like, damn, like you kind of get it. I feel like if any of us couldn't sleep, we would do whatever it takes. And there was just something so sinister about him creeping in the middle of the night through the window to just steal something from Muriel while she's sleeping. And I love his castle and that entire section. I thought it was beautiful. Don't get why the forest is right next to the house, but whatever, we're gonna ignore that. And honestly, once he was able to sleep again, he gave it back. It's not like he kept it just to be an evil person. Okay, this was number 1 because I do remember this from my childhood, but what I wasn't able to understand is, aside from the obvious villains trying to get her into this cult forever, is the way they were doing it, and it's just feeding on poor Muriel's desire to fit in. I always thought that Muriel was very content with her life, but this episode made it seem like she is not. She kind of yearns for more company. You know, she loves her husband and her dog, but it seems like there's something missing from her life, and it's so sad. The second she found it, how desperate she was to keep it. And I think it really recontextualizes a lot of the other episodes. That's all I think about every time I rewatch this now, is every time there's a villain, why she invites them in immediately. No second thoughts, she just lets them in. It's because she wants that company, and it's so sad. But what really saved her is just the love that Courage has for her, because if it wasn't so strong, she would have forgotten him immediately. Same thing with Eustace, I guess. And Eustace honestly made me laugh this episode at the end, which is rare from him, but he's so dumb. He doesn't care about who is watching him. Yeah, this one just had everything. It had funny moments, it had a Courage being cute, it had Muriel and Courage's love for each other, it had a spooky villain, it had another spooky villain, because the spooky villains were kind of working for the rug, the evil spirit in the rug. They had the computer, we had to do research. I'm sure he was terrified when he saw them in the background of all those pictures. Oh my god, that would have freaked me out. And then we have Eustace actually being funny for once. I couldn't give the top spot to any other episode. And I think truly this episode can compete with a lot of the other season's top episodes too. So it's not like it was just, you know, the best of the worst. It's actually a really good episode. Alright guys, that was season 3. Overall, I think this was the weakest season, but I still had a lot of fun watching it. Definitely doesn't mean that it's bad. I love almost all Courage episodes, really. And we have established characters now. Eustace, exactly the same. Courage is exactly the same from the last season. As you remember, season 1, he was a lot more talkative. Season 2, he's more of a dog. And they kept that personality with this season. The only difference is Eustace's voice actor actor, but you know, he still has the exact same personality, just a different voice. Truly, rest in peace, Lionel. His voice is just so specific to Eustace's, and like just nothing can take that away from him. Alright, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I'm kind of sad that next season is the last season, but don't forget to like if you like these videos so I can make more, and don't forget to subscribe because I do plan on making other videos like this because I do enjoy making these so much. You guys have no idea. I think everyone should do it because watching shows that you watched as a kid as an adult really just boggles your mind. It's kind of surreal when you watch it because not only are you watching it through a new lens, you also remember what you thought about it when you were a kid, and just the difference is it's so much fun. I will see you next time. Bye.
Blue dreams, I'm with the stars when I face blind. She a nightmare, but it'd be hard for me to wake up. Let me know choice to cut her off and get my cake up. Fuck a whole comments and my soul is all I'm saving. Your heart, I got love even if you hate it. With my real life brothers, we ain't related. Smoke a lemon.